Okay, this is for Poli-Sci 201, and this is a very terse introductory video lecture describing the difference between monetary and fiscal policy. And this is going to be one of two video lectures. In the second video lecture, we are going to cover the differences between debt and deficits, and we're also going to cover the unemployment cycle. Now, there are two methods in which that are used to supplement or correct an economy, and we call this fiscal and monetary policy. And when we talk about monetary policy, we're talking about the Federal Reserve, or what's commonly known as the Fed. And when we talk about fiscal policy, we are talking about policies that are implemented by the United States government. And in both sets of policies, the objective is to control the money supply while moving the economy in a positive direction by attempting to influence the unemployment and employment cycle. And like I said, I'll cover the unemployment cycle in the next lecture. So for now, we're just going to start with monetary policy. Now, with monetary policy, there are three options or tools in the world of economics they would refer to it. There are three tools available for this kind of policy. The first tool is lowering the reserve requirement. The second tool is going to be the discount rate. And the third tool is going to be open market operations. Now, being that this is an introductory course, or lecture, we're going to forego the specific details in this video lecture. But in class this week, after the videos are reviewed and some of the readings are done, for now we're going to forego the specific details. And if there's any questions in class, we can do some demonstrations on the smartboard. So the first tool that the Federal Reserve has uses is the reserve requirement. And basically the reserve requirement is lowering the reserve requirement that keeps interest rates down and that affects borrowing and gives the Federal Reserve the ability to lend more money. Now in the news you may hear, let's just say a news clip where a caster says, well, the Federal Reserve have kept interest rates low for the past 8 years. And banks are able to buy at nearly 0% interest rate or 1% interest rate or so on. And the second tool that the Federal Reserve has to use is the discount rate. And basically this is an incentive rate set by the Fed, or any particular rate, which lets banks borrow. Now that rate can be 0%, it can be 1%, it could be 2%. And the third tool that the Federal Reserve has to use is going to be open market operations. And open market operations is the sale of securities or bonds, which anybody can purchase. And basically these are IOUs. So anybody from individuals to corporations to firms, which are just a fancy word for companies, can buy a piece of the government. And basically you're lending the money government, which they're going to pay you back with whatever interest rate. Let's just say, figuratively speaking, the interest rate is 8%. So they're going to pay you back the money that you gave them, and they're going to pay you back at 8% interest. And basically this is a short-term method of increasing the money supply to supplement banks that at times may even be in trouble. And usually that is the case when they're implementing this type of policy. The second method is going to be implemented by the federal government, and this is going to be called fiscal policy. This is a tool used by the government which has two methods, which is government spending and taxation, and that's it. The government can increase taxes during an economic boom or decrease taxes during an economic recession. The government can increase government spending during an economic recession or decrease government spending during an economic boom. This will ultimately have effect on the unemployment cycle. These methods, the two methods, really come down to taxation and government spending. Taxation, like I mentioned, they can raise and lower taxes. So if, let's just say, the people are doing well in the economy, we're at full employment right now, and I think it's like 5.5%. We can raise taxes because there's more of a reservoir of tax money that the government can take from. And if the economy isn't doing that well, since there's less money to draw from, the government can lower taxes. Also, the government, during, let's just say, an economic recession, can promote government spending. So let's just say we're going to build new roads and stuff. This will help the unemployment cycle. It will help give people jobs and so on. Or they can contract or have no government spending. And that is just basically a brief introduction. So like I said, in class this week, I'm sure that, at least I hope, there's going to be some questions about some of the specifics about fiscal and monetary policy. So until then, we will cover them. We'll cover them there. Until then, we're going to move on to the next video lecture. So I'll see you in just a few moments.